Today we are finally painting the Lamborghini Countach. I spent the last 2 days wet sanding this entire car at least thrice. It was a real disaster, and it was a messy job. I kept pretending that I was one of those happy people in those paper towel commercials, you know. But every time I thought I was ready to paint, something like this popped up. I went up to the store and bought a new paint gun because the one that I was using to put the primer on got real gummed up. This paint gun is supposed to be better. We know that because it was $6 more expensive. But before I can actually get to the paint, I need to tape some things up. The things I taped on the store will be painted black because this isn't a Jeep and the outside colors do not come in. I fixed a couple other spots and then I had to put on them drip protectors. Get busy living or get busy dying. We gotta remove all the rings before putting on some latex gloves because the last thing I need to do before I paint is wax and degrease this entire car. Even just putting your hand on the car before painting can cause a bad reaction, so it's important to make sure everything's super clean. Once again, this color is called Bianco Polo. You know, I really could have kept on sanding, but I realized this paint job is going to be problematic whether or not I keep sanding, so we might as well full send. Of course, I'm wearing a respirator because breathing this stuff in can be very toxic. And this type of paint actually kills brain cells, so at least now I have a legal excuse for being this way. But you can see after the first coat, it was nice and shiny. It took about 2 or 3 of these magazines per coat to paint this car, so you have to keep going in and out. And of course, before I start spraying with fresh paint, I always check it on the wall. And it was still white, so we can go ahead. You do want to have good lighting all around, but I would also say be careful because I put these lights in weird spots. And I kept thinking shadows were areas that needed more paint. But this is after like 2.5 coats. I bought the single stage paint, so you're not really supposed to add clear coat, but I decided to experiment. I'm no gynecologist, so I was just eyeballing the whole thing. You know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Supposedly this should give it a more complex look rather than it looking like a fence post. But here are the results. I honestly can't even believe it. It turned out to be this beautiful pearl white. It's almost like a satin color. And when I finally get to waxing and buffing it out, it should look real nice. But this turned out way better than I thought it was going to. I think mixing in that clear coat and doing 2 coats of that really saved this paint job. There was a couple times that it felt like it was really rocky, but at the end of the day, it's night. I think this finish turned out really sweet. There is seemingly minimal orange peel, a couple crusty dusties here and there, but for a DIY paint job, not too bad. Unfortunately, this is turning into a movie. You're gonna have to come back tomorrow to see the peeling of tape. We have to paint these other parts. Then we can start putting this thing back together. Aloha.